Where the Indian Army is closely monitoring the situation in the border areas along the country's northern frontier months after Indian and Chinese soldiers clashed at the border area of Yangtze to the northeast of the monastery town of Tawang in Arunachal Pradesh, which had been invaded by China's PLA in 1962. And a series of reports of dual infrastructure built up along the LAC and the India-China-Bhutan tri-junction by Chinese. Now an exclusive interview. NDTV's Ratnadeep Chaudhary, India's Eastern Army Commander, LT General Rana Pratap Kalita, has reasserted that the situation along the LAC with China in the northern borders has stabilized. He also speaks on how the porous Indo-Myanmar border remains a concern.
In December last year, we saw the face-off that Indian Army had with the Chinese Army in the Tawang sector. There are reports of build-up of the Chinese infrastructure and deployment of more troops in the Bhutan, India, China tri-junction, particularly in Doklam Valley, even in the Arunachal Zimitang Valley has been a reason of concern. How do you see the situation now after the face-off, and how are you really preparing in terms of, particularly in the India, China and Bhutan tri-junction?
As far as the northern borders is concerned, let me assure you that the situation along the northern borders is totally under control, and there is stability along the northern borders, and there are certain issues which come up at times when both sides carry out patrolling activity, and they are particularly due to the differing perception of the line of actual control. But our efforts have been to resolve those issues using the existing border mechanism, which is based on the agreements which are existing between the two countries. Even the escalation which you talked about in Yangtze, we are able to resolve through the talks at the local commanders level itself, and thereafter everything was back to normal. So I think overall we are monitoring the situation. Whatever infrastructure development is taking place on the other side, or whatever build-up is taking place, that is being monitored closely at all levels. And let me also assure you that our preparations are also on, so that any emerging situations can be addressed by robust appropriate measures by Indian Army, which is in terms of our rebalancing of the forces which has already taken place. Then we are focusing on infrastructure development as also infusion of technology to carry out our capability enhancement. You see, all types of infrastructure development which take place closer to the LAC are of immense help to us, whether they are for development of the vibrant villages or for improving the tourism facilities. They all are of use to us, particularly in terms of development of the roads and other communication infrastructure. So we are looking at it, and all the agencies of the government are working in a very, very coordinated manner and in a synergized approach to ensure that all of us are aware of what is happening, and each other's requirements are taken care when such developmental activities are taking place and being planned.
But has Indian Army noticed, increase of, dual infrastructure on the Chinese side, particularly in the Arunachal frontier, in the tri-junction between Bhutan, India and China, and how much of a concern is that?
All this infrastructure development across has been going on, and it has picked up pace after 2017 Doklam standoff, and I see no major changes in the pace of development over last 3-4 years.
Also talking about Myanmar border, the porous Myanmar border, and there have been conflict there. There have been some armed operations by the army, as well as the armed groups operate very close to the borders with Mizoram and Manipur. You have constant inflow of refugees as well. How is Indian Army, particularly because Assam Rifles is guarding the border, how Army is looking at it?
We are dominating the Indo-Myanmar border in a very, very robust manner, and we have increased the deployment of the Assam Rifle along the Myanmar border, particularly in view of the improving situation in the hinterland, because of which the Armed Forces Special Power Act has been removed from some of the areas of hinterland in Nagaland and Manipur. That has enabled us to increase our presence along the Indo-Myanmar border, and that's how we are addressing the instability along the border.
So one last question. You just said that the areas under Armed Forces Special Power Act has reduced in Northeast. Now, in this reduced scenario, how confident is Army in terms of operating in the same magnitude that it had if required so? And given the fact that there was a very the 2021 incident in Nagaland where MOD has not given prosecution sanction against your army men who have been charge sheeted. You have your own court of inquiry as well. What kind of changes has Army brought in terms of its SOPs operating in Northeast, given the fact that Army had itself said that it was a mistake at that point of time?
We are carrying out only hard intelligence based operation now, and with the aim of no collateral damages.